step 25 of this Institute of Practical Learning course on self-awareness. We talk about how different kinds of input are scored using an electrochemical potential system, and where that information is then retained in the mind in different databases, and how you access that information to be useful when you need it. Okay, we've been talking about the questions that are on the guard's checklist for letting people in. Yes, this is the guard who's standing at your subconscious, deciding who to let through, with what, how to tag it in terms of, is it, so to get through into this side of your unconscious, is it a known source? Is it a known subject? Is it a new or relevant fact or opinion that I'm interested in? Is it a procedure about how to do something? And again, is it worth storing how to do something? Because at some point in the future, I think I may need to know how to do it. For example, if you're a cyclist, if it's how to mend a puncture, and you haven't actually got a puncture, but you may go out and buy yourself a puncture kit, and you want to know how to mend a puncture. So you will memorize how to do that. And that's stored in your how to do things. Another different kind of storage of information is how to ride a bicycle in the first place. Now, you will have learned that, hopefully, earlier on in your life. Of course, it could be how to swim. Now, who's to say what age you are when you learn how to ride a bike or how to swim? You can learn those things at pretty well any age, actually, but you store that information in certain parts of your mind. It won't go into the how to mend a puncture, won't go into your general knowledge. There'll be a part of your mind where that information is stored. And so later on, when you're out there on your bike and you get a puncture, the input coming into your subconscious would be to say, hey dude, your back tire's flat, you need to fix it. Did you remember to bring the puncture kit? And hopefully you have. So you've got your puncture kit, and then you can go through into this stored information about how to do something and retrieve it and mend your puncture, all being well. So these are held in your subconscious, because your subconscious has access to very large amounts of information storage of different sorts. And it also has automatic procedures for how to search for that information and to bring that information forward from there and then pass it from this storage in your unconscious mind and give it across to your conscious mind, which is where you're going to use it to take the actions to mend the puncture. So these first 4 or 5 questions that I've been talking to you about are about facts, opinions, and tagging particular sources and particular subjects. And what I'm going to come on to next is more about, there's a middle type of question that isn't directly appropriate to your conscious or your subconscious. The guard asks the questions in his next category when he's not got any clear information about which way to send it. But as long as it passes, he will let it through and he'll tag it, and then there's another process which actually decides which part of your mind to send it to, your conscious and or your subconscious. And you may say, really, do I care? And the answer is, if you want to learn, depending on the mental pathway of the information, it's relevant to whether you will learn or you won't learn. Because if it flows through the wrong mental pathway, you may act upon it, you may think you've learned it, it may be stored, but you actually won't have learned it. Or you may only learn it for a few minutes, but it won't stay there for long. It may stay there for half a day or something like that. But you think how when you crammed for exams and you went in and took that exam, within 2 or 3 days after taking that exam and passing it, let's hope, you've forgotten it all. Whereas the learning I'm trying to do with you is I'm trying to do a different kind of learning, actually. I've, I've steered away from the word, but I'm trying to help you change your behaviour. I'm trying to help you develop your soft skills. Now, that's an entirely different type of input and facts to what you're used to doing and what you're used to processing. And where this is all going is I'm going to show you how these 10 questions, they're not really very helpful to help you learn. Nearly all of the questions will eliminate the information that is potentially useful for you to learn. And I think that's the next piece we're going to come on to, because the category of questions that I'm going to come on to next is grouped under a subject called motivation. So we'll come back to motivation as a topic and what are the questions relevant to motivation. Okay, so we're talking about the 10 questions on the test that you're likely to be asked by the guard at the gate before information can go through either into your conscious or your subconscious mind. We've covered off four of the questions, and I think what we're going to do now, and I promised you at the end of that last video, is I'm going to talk to you about a bunch more questions that appear in the middle before we go to questions that basically take you into the conscious mind. So you've got this idea, inputs coming along, can you get through the gate, automatic entry if you know the code, or appropriate questions. We can clear that away, I think. As a concept, that is in your mind now. You don't need it on the board for reference. Your brain has squirreled it away somewhere so that you can continue to follow the thread of what I'm talking to you about with that concept saved. So the other aspect, I need space so let me kind of delete some of this stuff. It is still the case that nearly everything that you receive as inputs does go into the waste bin, so imagine that's still there. Also, everything that comes in as inputs is relevant to whether it's to do with your mental situation that you're in or something to do with a physical input. I think it's pretty obvious that if you touch a red hot stove or something like that, that'll come in here, it'll be a physically related input, it'll go into your conscious mind and you'll instantly do something, hopefully, and you will learn from it, and it will also therefore go into the unconscious mind and be stored in a database in a place which says, if this ever happens again, be ready for it, but also here's some preventative measures. Don't touch hot stoves. So that's recorded as a procedure, if you like. So that passes a known subject, because it is now known, hot stoves hurt. That becomes known, and the source is its particular nerves in your body, sensors on your fingers. So it comes in, you know the source, you know the subject, you certainly have an opinion about it, and you can instantly process it. So that goes straight through, past the guard, and in. Okay, so let's create some more space. I do want to talk to you more about this whole business of scoring. By the way, that was a priority score. The hot stove, the input immediately got 10 out of 10. It's hot. It burns you. So, score. Well, and it's actually called a potential, as I said before, potential. I've got it up here. Potential score is 10, straight in. So, if we look at this scoring thing in a slightly different way, rather than looking at it like that, the 10 there, look at it like this. This can be a want, this can be a need. Now, in the Corbin dialogues, which I tend to think of as the Corbin dialogues, very early on, I think even in the first session, I talked to him at some length about the difference between needs and wants. Now, as you have grown up and gone to school, you've needed to go to school. The parents tell you you've got to go to school. You don't have a choice. So you may not want to go, but you need to go or have to. It's like as well as need, there are other words for it like have to and must. Now, interesting that this is a sliding scale. It's almost like a needle that can be at different points. And depending on how far up you go, it has a higher and a higher potential. There is an electrical device actually called a potentiometer. Potential, I guess it would be ohmmeter like that, or RE. Anyway, it's an electrical device, and you can use it to change how much voltage you give a signal. So you can, if it's a high potential signal, it gets a lot of voltage behind it, which is rather like pressure in water, only it's in electricity, and it pushes it through, which is why your physical system in your body uses electrochemical potential, and the network connectivity between your neurons going across the synaptic gap is also influenced by the potential of the transmitters as they go across. I need space. So what we're talking about is the weighting that these inputs have. How high a potential do they have? And in a way, it's a potential to make your life better. So if it has a high potential here, let's say a priority thing comes in, it's got 10 here. You need to do it, and you do it. Now, here's the point. Things you want to do they don't have that same high potential. It varies with people just how much their actual wants get scored. So the subconscious test of your wants, if you don't really, really want something, then it won't get a very high, you won't be assigning it a high score up here in your, as it were, higher mind. It'll come in and it won't go through. So typically, if we say on this scale from 0 to 10, if you naturally only score your wants at about 5, and if there's so much happening in your life that the only stuff that gets through is in order to pass, let's say it has to have 7+. So it may be that in your circumstances where you are being pushed to do so much, one way or another, by external people and so on, all the inputs have to achieve at least a score of 7 and up. Anything that, as an input, doesn't meet this high priority need, or it's a really important known fact from a very credible source, and it's an important how to do something that you actually need to do. You know, your house is flooding, brimming tap, it's not just leaking, it's pouring out. That'll up the score of all those inputs relevant to that, and it'll push that potential score up to above 7, and you'll do it. And meanwhile, your wants, especially if you only set them down at a lowish level, they just get ignored. And it's this balance of needs and wants. And how much of your life do you actually live within the want to do and need to do zone? Now, this comes on to learning.
This is a good time to get out your life book and make some notes about what you believe your own motivation to be. What's important to you in this learning process as you look forward at the life you want to build for yourself? What do you think of as the main drivers? Is it about money? Is it about love? And all the other things that you consider to be important for you?